after you've prepped the tissue and you've done the deep manipulation with the large claw, you can now go in there with the nugget. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you guys how to use the Handheld Nugget, the OMG Nugget, okay, this one's a little bit smaller, okay, and the Mini 2 Nugget. I'm just going to show you how to hold these tools when you're going to go and work with the nugget. All right, so first I'm going to show you how to use the Handheld Nugget. So first I'm going to use the wider tip of this nugget. Yes, there is a wider tip and there is a narrower tip to the nugget. So the narrower end is more for detail work. The wider end of the nugget is a fantastic way to introduce the nugget, especially when you're working with scars, because scars can be tender. All right, so you want to first make your client feel very comfortable with working with this particular tool. You don't want to go with the pointier end of this nugget right away. You want to kind of warm them into this this particular technique. Okay, so first let's start with the wider end. So I'm going to use the Crayon Technique. So the Crayon Technique is pretty much like you're holding a coloring pencil or a marker. So you definitely want to make sure your wrist is nice and fluid when you're using the nugget, all right, because you don't want to strain your wrist while you're holding this particular tool. You want everything to flow very nicely when you're treating, okay? So for you and the client, you want this to feel nice and smooth, okay? So you don't ever want to jam up the nugget, especially when you're working with bony prominences. In this case, I'm working on the lateral aspect of the knee joint. So I don't ever want to jam up the nugget behind the knee or around any bony prominences where I can potentially hurt my client. Okay, so you want to go very light. I'm not adding any pressure whatsoever, and I'm getting a really nice reaction here. Getting a lot of blood flow. Feel comfortable with working over scars, especially when they're chronic. When it's 2 weeks in post-op, you just want to be very careful, especially after 2-3 weeks, because the incision is still fresh. So you want to just work distally around the scar just to help it heal. Help it heal nicely, bring some blood flow in that area so it can remodel and go through that inflammation process very smoothly. So here, this particular scar is very chronic. It's been a couple of years. You can actually feel the thickness in the center of the scar. Again, I'm still using the wider end here just so I can approach this scar very gently, very slowly, just, you know, just to let the receptors be receptive to this pressure. Okay, so I'm getting nice blood flow here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to the pointier end of the nugget. Okay, now I'm going to continue doing the crayoning technique. I can feel, it's crazy because the more pointier end is more for detail work, and you can actually feel the detail right underneath this particular skin here, underneath the scar tissue. It feels almost like bubble wrap. So this is why I love working with these Fasciablasters with the nugget, especially because it really gives me more of a detail on what I'm working on, and I could feel it. So, you know, I could stay in this area a little longer if I wanted to continue to bring more blood flow, so then the body can then do its thing through the healing process, remodel and reorganize this tissue. So we're basically, what we're doing is basically doing just that. We're just initiating the inflammation process here through bringing the blood flow into this area. So eventually, over time, as I continue doing this treatment, this is going to start feeling smoother. And you'll see as you continue to progress through the treatments that the bubble wrap just smooths out. Okay, so after I've done that, I'm going to show you guys how to use the OMG. So the OMG Blaster, you have the option to either work with it with the handle if you want, or if it's a hard to reach area, you have that nice extra length to work with on the nugget. If not, you can just hold the nugget like this. So the reason why I particularly like to hold a nugget like this is because I feel more. I'm more gives me more of a almost like more, how can I say, more detail. Like I could feel what's going on under the skin with much more detail than if I'm holding the handle. So for me, this feels nice too. Like if I want to, you know, give my wrist a little bit of a break here, I can use this. Or again, if you want to use it for more of a reach. But I really love using the nugget just like this. I like to kind of get into the nitty gritty of the scars when I'm working with the OMG Blaster. So this is again the crayoning technique, working around the scar here. Okay, and because the OMG nugget is so it's thinner and smaller, you can actually work that scar with detail if you wanted to. So here I can get right in the center of the scar and kind of like, you know, pull it away or peel it away like it was a piece of mozzarella cheese. I can actually really kind of pull it apart. Just like this. Again, you want to do that with chronic scars, not with acute scars, only because again, it could be just tender and you don't want to, you know, want to be too aggressive with a fresh scar. Okay, and then that's the OMG. If you want to use the Mini 2, what I like to do, again, the Mini 2 provides you with a wider tip and a wider tip and a narrower tip on this Mini 2. So again, I want to approach it with the wider end. So I like to hold it like this. I'm very comfortable holding the nugget like this. It just gives me more of a leverage of the tool so I can feel more. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to crayon around the scar just like this, around the area, just like that. In the center of the nugget here, color, 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 right in the center of the scar. Did I say center of the nugget? I meant the center of the scar. Center of the scar, just like that. Okay. You can do so much with the nugget. I have done full treatments, 1 hour treatments just using the nugget. And like you can really get a lot done with just using the nugget for detail work. It really is such a phenomenal tool to use. Okay, then I flip it again, flip it over, use the thinner, the more pointier end, more narrower end of the nugget. Start coloring, color, color, color around that scar. You can actually do up and down with the nugget, the crayoning, or you can do cross fiber here. So you can create more friction here, stimulating blood flow even more. Okay, just like that. And again, my wrist is really relaxed. I'm not jamming myself here. Okay. All right, and then if you wanted to, you can actually do the poke and wiggle technique. So I'm gonna go back with my to the handheld nugget, and I'm gonna go in by using the wider end of the nugget again, just in case my client is tender and it can't handle the pointier end when I'm doing a poke and wiggle. So first I want to get positive feedback here. I want to give positive feedback to the brain to make sure that my client is relaxed and that they're not in the fight or flight response. So first I want to make sure that this is comfortable for them. Is that a good pressure? So just check with your client if that's good pressure. So we're going to poke, wiggle, wiggle, poke, wiggle, wiggle. So when you do a poke and wiggle technique, you're actually poking down into the tissue, wiggling, just like that. We don't want to do this. We're not doing this. Poke, wiggle, wiggle, poke, wiggle, wiggle. We're not doing that. You're actually gripping and pressing down into the layers of fascia, and now you're wiggling, giving it a slight vibration there. So as you see how I'm creating the little dents here, okay, the little divots. All right. I personally don't like going into the same, dent. I don't like going in there twice. I like to kind of go around it once. Poke, wiggle, wiggle. And this can also be the golf ball technique as well. We went over that in class. where we create like a golf ball like, you know, like it looks like a golf ball with all the little holes all around like that. But because this is a bony prominence that I'm working around here with the nugget, you're not really going to see them because it's the tissue gets very very soft with very light layers, not like a thigh that has deeper layers here of fascia. So we're working around bone, so we definitely don't want to jam up the nugget around the bony prominence here. Okay, so I'm going all around here, poke, wiggle, wiggle, but you can slightly see my little dents here that I'm creating around the scar. And I'm going to keep going until I go into the center of the scar. Poke, wiggle, wiggle, poke, wiggle, wiggle. And he's got tendon in here, so I kind of want to go a little lighter in that area, but just enough to keep creating stimulation and further increasing blood flow in this area. Okay, so once I've done that, I can massage it out, flush the areas. You can see the nice little dent I've created around here. See that? Okay, so I was able to create it in the more thicker, where he's got more connective tissue, more meaty part here of the upper, I could say the lower thigh here, just above the knee joint. But again, this is more of the bony prominence, so that's why you can't really see the divots here, but you can see it right where he's got more of the meaty part. So again, if you wanted to do it with your little OMG, you can. You kind of go in, poke, wiggle, wiggle. This may be a little bit too intense for your client because it's very pointier. Again, just watch your pressure, check in with your client to see if they can tolerate it. Okay, poke, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, you can see that. And then the same thing, you will go in there with the Mini 2. Use use the wider end of the nugget just to make sure they can tolerate the poke and wiggle technique. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then you can flush out the area. You can use your brush boosters, you can use the large claw to kind of flush out the area. So we did the poke and wiggle technique, we did the golf ball technique somewhat here, and then we did the poke and wiggle technique. Okay, what you can also use your nugget for is the peeling away of the mozzarella. So if you're using let me go back here with the more pointier end here, you can kind of approach the scar this way, use your finger and use the nugget end and kind of pull away the tissue here. Pull away from the scar to continue getting more blood flow in there and to make that scar more pliable, right? Because we're warming up the tissue, we're making it more pliable, we're rehydrating the tissue, because remember, fascia reacts to pressure and forces applied onto it, which is what hydrates the tissue. So by really working this area and really stimulating it, we're rehydrating that tissue. So then that scar can soften up and can remodel and reorganize. All right, so once you've done that, you want to flush. Let me do it with the OMGs, with the OMG Blaster. Let me use the OMG for this one. And so, okay, you're going to hold the OMG Blaster however you feel comfortable with. All right, holding it. So the same thing goes here. Pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away. Just like that. Again, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away. Just like that. Then with the Mini 2, okay, use the wider end. Pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away. Just like that. Okay, and then the more narrower tip. Pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away. Just like that. Okay, so then you can just flush the area here. It's nice and warm. It's nice and stimulated. It's rich in blood flow. So you want to make sure you flush the area, whether it's with your hands, with your brush boosters, which are fantastic for lymphatic drainage, or if you want to kind of just feather with your large claws, you can also do that as well. Alright guys, so if you guys have any questions, just let me know. You can reach me at Jasenia@ashleyblackguru.com. Thank you and have a great day.